Good evening, everybody. My name is Stephen Kinsella. I'm the co-director of the Immersive Software Engineering degree, and I'm really excited to welcome you all here tonight. This is a special webinar for teachers, for guidance counsellors, for principals for this brand new degree, and I'm tremendously excited to be able to talk to you about it, and also to share with you a little bit of the detail that has not really been shared before up to this point. And so we've got an information packed and hopefully a bit of fun in the webinar as well for you for the next 40 minutes or so. And so what we'll do is give you a sense of the running order. So first we're going to introduce you to the team. Then my colleague, Professor Tiziana Margherita, is going to tell you a little bit about the course, why we designed it, how we're going about making this course the, if you like, the best possible version of a computer science degree we can envisage, what the entry requirements are, how one of your students or someone you know gets a place on this innovative new program. And then we'll take you through what the schedule might be like and what they'll actually be studying in first year, what the modules are like. Guidance counsellors tell us that what they need to know, and what they tell their students is, if you're happy enough with 80% of the module content, then you should be happy enough with the degree as a whole. So we're going to take you through what the first year of this whole course looks like. And then my colleague, JJ Collins, will take you through the residency element. This brand new idea of residencies, these paid placements that you get to work with the best companies in the world, up to 5 of them. And then we'll finish off telling you about a new workshop that we're going to do, a new competition that we're offering, and then we'll have time for your questions and answers. So if you look on the top right hand corner of the Teams app that you'll be on right now, if you're watching this, you'll see there's a question and answer button, and if you click that, you'll get a lot of opportunities to ask us questions, and we'll get to them. In the last webinar we had 66 questions, I think. So feel free to just ask as many questions as you like. We'll get into the detail as much as possible. So with that, I think it's probably worth introducing the team and who you'll hear from tonight. So our first speaker, the person who's coming up after me, is Tiziana Margherita. So Tiziana is Professor of Software Systems here in UL. She's the course director for this brand new degree, and my fellow co-director. She's an expert in the kinds of innovative new platforms and new ways of thinking that the students will be exposed to. And here with me in the studio is JJ Collins, our head of residencies. JJ is a teacher of enormous experience. He's a lecturer in software systems as well. His expertise is in machine learning and AI, and he's just quite simply one of the finest teachers of computer science that the University of Limerick has. I'm an economist. I'm not a computer scientist, as you know. I don't play with on the internet, but my job here is to keep us fully focused on the outside, on making sure that ISC is the best version of itself, particularly for the kinds of companies that we will be working with. Our value proposition is very simple: the best companies, the best facilities, the best professors, the best students, the best outcome for everyone involved. And so I'm tremendously excited to be part of this course. So the person you're going to hear from next is Professor Margherita, who's joining us from Greece. And if you're ready, Tiziana, please take it away.
Yes, thank you very much, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be with you all tonight. It's always good to have the opportunity to present our brand new course, LM173 in Immersive Software Engineering. As Stephen already said, I am the course director. So for any kind of formalities and questions concerning the program, please, here I am. Okay. In normal life, I'm a professor of software engineering, as Stephen said. I'm also involved in research centers and research programs in AI, in software, in advanced manufacturing, in the new Limerick Cancer Research Center. And so one of my passions is, of course, to create new technologies for the software development of tomorrow, but in particular also to bring them into practice and to have this technology make a difference in the way software permeates the world. Okay, so from this mindset comes the idea actually of creating a different model for the education in software engineering and computer science. And so why should students choose ISE? Well, if you are a creative student, if you are an engaged person, if you like problem solving, if you think that what you do should have an impact in the world, then you are the right person for ISE. Okay, so the combination should actually be, the best of the best teachers, the best program, the best contents, the best environment, not only in UL as such. I mean, it's one of the best campuses, definitely in Ireland, but also in Europe and in the world. But also for us, it is going to be a studio-based program, and we are going to tell a little bit more about that later on. Okay, the important part, in order to finish, let's say the fundamental innovations, is that the students are going to be on campus, immersed in our educational program half of the time, but nearly half of the time they are going to be immersed in the professional reality of the different kinds of software engineering, the different facets, the different impacts that software engineering makes in the world. In the next slide, yes, we have a quick, let's say, identikit of the novelties in ISE, and it is pretty much the way we have explained it there. It's a program where you are not taught concepts that you're going to use maybe later on, but you learn by doing. It is a challenge-based, problem-based approach to pedagogy that we take. You're going to learn in studios, really, so in a residential place dedicated to you, working on projects, not in scheduled hours in lecture halls and in labs that are available only for a limited period of time. Okay, it is a new way of assessment. You're never going to take an end-of-term exam because we are going to have blocks of teaching where you are continuously assessed. And we have seen actually that there are advantages to this, in particular when education is more cooperative, when you have groups that are working, which is actually the reality in the software engineering profession. It's a very team-oriented profession. And so we are going to have more of this experience for the students already in the classrooms, and then they are going to have it also in the company. Very important is that you're going to reach an integrated bachelor master, so basically a master's qualification in 4 years, or actually even less than 4 years. And from this, you can already see that it is a quite intensive approach that we are going to take, but very well coordinated. And so we have experience elsewhere that this is something that the students can go through very successfully without any problem. You're going to spend half of your time learning with the best lecturers and researchers on campus, and the other half of the time actually in companies, in paid internships, working in teams as a member of the team to solve, let's say, a variety of important problems in the companies. In the next slide, we see, let's say, the motivations that you could have, the students could have in order to, when joining ISE, okay? Well, people could just be not just technologists, they could become doctors, teachers, actors, be interested in finances, in architecture, in the arts, or so, or anything. Basically, any of these professions is permeated by software. We are interested for people for students, so to say, that are potential embracers, so to say, of these careers, to consider software engineering as an alternative. It doesn't mean that they have to apply, but it would be interesting actually just to have people that could have a very successful career also in other domains to consider software and technology as a potential career. The new way of learning software engineering is much less traditional than what we see in the normal courses. The students in the current, let's say, top degrees in the world do have this experience of mixed, let's say, education on campus, residential, and also education in the placements. You know that we already have it in UL. UL has been a pioneer, actually, of cooperative education. We are very confident, so to say, and very familiar with this way of managing internships and placements. I mean, JJ is the course director of computer science. I am the ex-head of department, so we are very familiar with this. The point in this context is that we are having an integrated way of education on campus and off campus with many different paid internships. So that's essential, so to say, to the pedagogy. The dedicated studio is something that we mentioned already. It is important for this new pedagogy to have the students together in a space that they own for the period of the module, okay, that they are going to take. This kind of collaborative space where they can leave their things, where they can brainstorm, where they can talk to each other, where they can interact with us as teachers and actually as mentors is absolutely important to the new way of having the students mature. So that's an important trait. And basically, it is going to be a much more research-driven, a much more future-oriented approach to the education. And the point actually is of having this alternation of classroom and practice. And that's actually where the residency concept comes in. In the next slide, we are going to see again, something about the residency concept. The residency concept, I mean, residencies are not a normal internship. They are not a co-op experience. They are actually mediated, so to say, from the medical residencies and from the teacher experience, where the new professionals in training, okay, the new trainee doctors and the new nurses and so on, they apply the theory that they just learned in the field, in the practice. And so software engineering is going to be treated exactly in the same way. It is a craft where you learn the principles, you try on projects, etc., but then you have to actually prove yourself in the field. The residency are going to have a dedicated support team. We are going to be in contact with the students also when they are away from campus. All the time, there is infrastructure and staff being deployed for this specific reason. And they have really a catalog of points that have to be exercised. So it is not, let's say, a placement of doing something, so to say, left to the companies. It is a very hand-in-hand agreement, very tight agreement, very tight collaboration that we are having with the companies that are our residency partners. Okay, and important it is that in these companies, you're going to be part of the real professional team. You're going to work on real problems, be taken seriously from day one, in spite of the fact that our students are going to be much younger, so to say, when they go out the first time. And we're going to see later, so to say, the portfolio of partner companies that we already have as a residency partners. Well, so what are the entry requirements? I mean, as teachers, you are very interested in this. The Living Cert, of course, this part is pretty similar to the other courses that we have. So Living Certificate or another equivalent degree with a minimum of 2 H5 and 4 O6 or 4 H7 grades. A minimum grade of H4 in mathematics, okay? If students don't have an H4 in mathematics, there is a special mathematics examination. As you are already familiar, it is already running, it has been running for a number of years. It runs in August, and so it is possible actually to catch up and achieve this qualification later on. Okay, but the part that is different is that we are also, next to the CAO points, we are having a portfolio. And the portfolio is basically, a description of who the applicants are. So they are going to be required to submit an annotated portfolio of created work. We are going to have, so there is a description actually on the website of what this is. So basically describe a project in a certain way that is described there. and describe yourself through a motivation text, okay, motivation letter. There may be an interview, okay, in order to verify the traits, so to say, of what has been described. And ISE is going to help, let's say, both the teachers and the students also through other activities to create the portfolios, okay, to identify initiatives or projects and so on that are actually amenable to the portfolio. The portfolio, I think, is evaluated on a scale of 300 points. So you're familiar with the CAO, 300 points are for the portfolio additionally to that. Okay. Next. Okay, so the course details of what the students need to know is basically that the course is called Immersive Software Engineering. It is LM173, so this is actually the relevant part for the CAO. Again, it is a 4 years integrated bachelor master, okay? So the normal exit is a level 9 and NFQ, okay? With an exit opportunity after year 3 with a BSc Hons, so a level 8, okay? The fees are the same as for any other BSc in the Faculty of Science and Engineering, so it doesn't cost more, okay? The course director is myself. I'm always available for questions, so to say, and application is normal, so to say, through the CIO. When the students are going to have applied to the CIO, we are going to be notified that they will receive the link for the portfolio part, okay? Next slide. How does it look like? Well, it is a little bit different because you see here the 4 years. You see that they are actually 3.5 and a little bit, okay, for the entire bachelor master. You see in green the bachelor part and in blue the master part. You see in particular another thing that is different. We use all the 3 semesters. So semester 1 in the autumn, semester 2 in the spring, and semester 3 in the summer. That's part of the intensive approach that we have. Okay. You also see that the modules, they start a little bit earlier or end a little bit later sometimes, etc. So this is actually how we have been able to organize the experience in such a way that the amount that needs to be learned is proportional, so to say, to the time at hand. As you see, there is an alternation, so to say, of modules on campus and residency modules. So the internships, the residencies, they are legal modules, fully graded, okay, not just pass-fail, part of the curriculum. And they happen, okay, for example, in residency 1 and 2, immediately after the year 1, okay? So JJ is going to talk more about that. How can it be that we are able to have students succeed in companies, in the kind of really high quality companies that we have in the partnership already after the first year? Well, we are preparing them on purpose for this. And we are preparing the companies, so to say, on purpose for what the students will know. So let's just have a quick walk through the first year, okay, just to give you an idea. The first 2 modules in the autumn, when they just join us in LM173, they are going first to learn that computers are there in order to solve problems. So it's a strongly methodological computational thinking, low-code approach that we are going to take. This is also one of the reasons why, for example, students are not required to have already experience in programming. If they have it, for example, in the Living Cert or in another context, it's good, but it is not a precondition. We are going to teach this, okay? Once this is clear, we can use computers in a useful way, so to say, to solve relevant problems. Well, the point is that we don't do it alone, but we do it in teams, okay? So effectively building software with others is the second very important component, where the students are going to get to know the software development life cycle. And then after Christmas, when we move into the second semester, you're going to see that actually we are addressing the basic building blocks, so to say, of software, data-centric computing with data structures, algorithms, and all the theory, so to say, that is necessary for this, and then computation and architecture for the system level. At this point, they are rounded students. They have already all the concepts that they need in order to be successful in the residencies. One more comment. You saw actually the structure. We don't have modules in parallel. We have blocks. We have short blocks that correspond to the equivalent of 2 or 3 modules. So it is really a blocked, education based on projects, based on learn by doing that we are applying throughout the entire approach. And now I am happy to pass the word to JJ, to my colleague JJ Collins, who is going to walk you through the residency program.
So thank you, Tiziana, for that. And I'd also like to say thank you to the attendees here this evening for taking time out to join us on this webinar. And I'd also like to say thank you to Stephen for those kind words, the introduction. If I was to repay the compliment, I'd be here all night, but your work in the evolution of the immersive software engineering concept, words would be insufficient to describe it.
Thank you.
I'm also very confident that I will have met some of you pre-COVID when promoting computing in secondary schools, and I look forward to an opportunity again to connect with you in person. So let's kick off with an overview of some of the 5 paid residencies that constitute 45% of the course. Again, just to reiterate the motivation here, if we look at teacher education, medical education, etc., in these professions you learn by doing in a professional practice setting, and it's effectively where you get an opportunity to put theory into practice. And we want to do the same in software engineering. So when students graduate, they have spent 2 years in professional practice, they have 2 years experience on their CV, and that allows them an opportunity to jump into advanced software engineering grades. With respect to the residencies across, there are 5 of them. They started first residencies in year 1 in the summer, and in year 2, 3, and 4 there are other residencies. We look after matching students with residency partners. We take care of that. It's a competitive process, and students will be placed with some of the world's best companies working on real thorny problems and building solutions to address that. So as well, we have an extensive support team within immersive software engineering to support students while on residency. So if we move on then, just to look at career progression, to just put it in context for software engineering versus some of the others. So there in the graph, we have in green, we have immersive software engineering, then we have medicine, law, architecture, accountancy, and dentistry. And we can see that after 5 years, the salaries that we expect immersive software engineer graduates to earn will be roughly about 85 to 90k. I actually think that's a conservative estimate, given that our current computer science graduates would be close to that. Remember, immersive software engineering graduates after 4 years, they have a master's and 2 years experience. So the opportunities with respect to compensation and benefits in software engineering in this program are incredible. So if we, next slide. So who will the students work with while in residency? Learn by doing. So we have approximately, at this point in time, 50 residency partners. When we kicked off or announced the program in January, we did not have any. And the number keeps growing on a week-by-week basis. If you look at the listing there, I'm not going to go through each of them, but there are who's who of the software engineering companies within that community. If we look at Stripe, 7 lines of code that have revolutionized financial transactions on the internet and democratized business on the internet. Analog Devices, a company that many of you might not have heard of. They develop computer chips, but they're extending into Internet of Things, into health, connected health, etc. Tynes, a company that has developed applications that allow you to build cybersecurity infrastructure. And that's very relevant given what has happened here in Ireland with respect to recent hacking of the HSE. And the great thing about this is you don't need multiple PhDs in electronics, computing and mathematics in order to do it. So Intercom built really excellent software to support collaboration in a very novel way in a business context. Mana, I love this particular example. This is drone delivery. When I heard about this 3 years ago, I thought a bunch of nutters. Until recently, when I was asked at 10 o'clock at night to go run down to the shop, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if a drone just dropped the groceries on my lap? I can go through each one of these. Provisio, company that works on autonomous vehicles and crash detection here in Limerick. So every one of these companies, what stands out from them is creativity. Where I see problems, they see opportunities. Not only do they see opportunities, they walk through that door. They will not take no for an answer, and they have built up businesses from the ground. Incredible is a word I find myself using very frequently. I must look up the lexicon to find an alternative, but that's how I feel about every one of those. We're really privileged and honoured to have them as residency partners. So rather than listening to me say a few words about how wonderful the program is, I think it's better if we take a testimony from a few people who are in the know. So the first there from John Collison, who says the Immersive Software Engineering program will be the most comprehensive and accelerated program of computer science education anywhere in the world, and a springboard for the brightest young minds to achieve great things. And that's an incredible endorsement from somebody who's revolutionized financial transactions on the internet. Next, we have from Mike Krieger, co-founder of Instagram. This is a phenomenal way to learn the skills you need to build the next Instagram. And finally, we have from Laura Sapingo. She is an aerospace engineer. She's a member of what we call our Young Advisory Board, and these are outstanding graduates that we have our connections with, and they're informing us on how best to go about designing the pedagogy. So she says the IC program focuses on a challenging and innovative methodology, allowing students to acquire necessary skills for their future careers through an enriching experience. So next, what kind of jobs could I get with? So the first is you can join some of the world's best companies, the residency partners that students will have spent our 5 residencies with. As a software engineer, you get incredible salaries, but more importantly, you'll work in solving real world problems that add value to everybody's lives. And next, you could start your own company. We have strong emphasis on entrepreneurialism, especially within an Irish context. I think that's the next step in the value proposition within Ireland. We have partnered up with Frontline Ventures and Enterprise Ireland in order to support students who want to roll out an idea, look at opportunities for commercialization, etc. Third, you could join the government or the community sector or a philanthropic organisation. All of these having very large demands for ICT professionals, especially software engineering. If you look at the HSE digitalization, which is currently undergoing, this is a long way to go, and they need some of the world's best engineers to be able to tackle the problems they face. You could become join the research community, do a doctorate, and in that you'll be solving problems, coming up with solutions or frameworks that nobody's even thought about at this particular point in time. And that's one of the hallmarks of immersive software engineering, looking for opportunities. And finally, then you could use your technical knowledge and experience and entrepreneurial skills in a context that we can't even imagine. If we look at some of the residency partners, they're providing solutions to problems I didn't know existed 5 years ago. I cannot at this point in time predict what the landscape will look like in 5 years' time. So, and it's likely that our graduates will be working on problems that at this point in time we can't even begin to identify. Just a word about the portfolio. So as Tiziana said, this is part of the admissions requirements. It's worth 300 points. And we're going to run a portfolio workshop on Saturday, December the 11th from 4 to 6 p.m. We think that's a time that will suit the vast majority of attendees. And in that, we'll walk people through the portfolio requirements, and then we'll give examples of portfolios, registration details to follow. And finally, then we'd like to draw your attention to the text program. And the purpose of this is to promote computing or software engineering in particular amongst secondary school students. So we're looking at transition year, 5th year and 6th year. So this is a 4-week program. It's beginning shortly. And the idea is that what we're trying to do is there will be mentors that will support students develop a concept. And what we're looking for is to see a rapid acceleration from concept to something in design thinking space. And more information on that is on the Immersive Software Engineering website. This is www.software-engineering.ie, and the text program is also rolled out in conjunction with our partner Patch in this endeavour. So without any further ado, I'll hand back to you, Stephen, to moderate the questions and answers.
Thanks, JJ. I mean, I think what I'm struck by is we have been talking about this since February 2019. You, myself, Tiziana, and the team, and it is still extremely exciting. I'm just so excited to. I hear this every single day, and I'm still very excited about it. I think it's wonderful. I'm just so envious of the students that get to do this. So we have a load of questions that have come in. I'll read the questions out, and I'll pass them to JJ, Tiziana, and if I can answer them myself, I will. But I think that the first one is what is new about this course? And I'll take that first one myself. So the first thing that's new about this course is it is what Tiziana said. It is ambitious to produce people who can solve very different kinds of problems, and we want to do that in an accelerated way, and we want to do it in an immersive way. We want to immerse you in the problem solving method here on campus and in companies too, hence the name of the course. And you will see that there's a lot of novelty built in relative to the kind of course that you would have done, say, in education. You would have done a linear course where you'll have modules going in parallel, maybe 4 or 5 per semester, and you would have had a summer off. We don't have that. We have these blocks, as Tiziana said, and we really do have a very different approach here. So there are lots of novel elements here. I think, JJ, the next question is, what types of career can I have in IT? So this is interesting. Like, so let's say you've got an ISC student that's actually gone and done the ISC course. What different kinds of career can they have in IT if they move into that space?
Well, thank you for the easy question, Stephen, as usual.
No bother.
Yeah. So they can have a career in any space. I think what we should focus on is this aspect of creativity. So companies are looking for people who are highly creative, can bring, it's not only problem solved, but actually I reuse that word again, opportunities where we can add value and reach out to people with frameworks or solutions that are useful within their life and experiences. So that's the first thing, be highly creative. And the second thing, we see software engineering as a tool or as a set of tools that can be used to build the solution. So vision, creativity, and also technical competence. And then what type of careers? Typically within software engineer, principal engineer, all the way up to architect, etc. That's if you're staying on the technical side. Some people will move over to become a product manager and other roles such as CTO, etc. So there's a huge variety of roles in there. For example, might decide to specialize in cybersecurity, information architect, software architect, systems architect, enterprise architect, etc.
So you could do a lot of architecting, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so
Okay.
if I may
Very
add
good.
maybe something.
So, sorry, Jenna, did you want to come
so
in?
maybe adding something on that, because for the moment we are focused actually on the IT sector and the IT part, but there are lots of IT people in any biotech environment, in a hospital, in revenue, in in any other domain, so to say, of real life. And so you could also become an expert, for example, in financial IT or in medical IT, or in any other kind of IT, okay? And there are products there are communication jobs connected with this. So the spectrum, so to say, of jobs and opportunities are really, really much wider. And one thing that actually is very important, you can be a software engineer anywhere in the world, while other, let's say, professions are regulated. And therefore you can actually exercise them only in the domain, in the jurisdiction in which your title is valid and recognized. For software engineering, for computer science, this is not the case. You can move wherever you want. Companies will be happy to have you.
Yeah, and I think that's putting it mildly. The demand for software engineers and the kind of skills that we are going to teach in immersive software engineering is through the roof, which is why that graph, which actually only shows the average salary, or the median salary in each band, is so much higher. Tiziana, can I give you another easy question? Do I need to do an exam to get into the Masters? This would be year 4 of the program.
Yeah. So the beauty of this is that the answer is no, because it is an integrated bachelor master. I mean, so these are forms of education that are common on the continent, but not so much, for example, so far in Ireland. If you enter in year 1, you can progress directly, just by doing your modules and succeeding, so to say, up to the master. The other thing that I would like to say is that we do not admit students into the master that are coming from other courses, because ISE is so special, it is so peculiar, and so the culture and the education, they are designed to be one master, one consecutive, so to say, education form.
Very good. And in addition, if one was to do another kind of computer science degree, let's say LM121 in computer science in the University of Limerick, or another computer science degree in Galway or anywhere else, of course, you wouldn't be able to transfer from year 2 of LM121 into ISE either. You'd have to go back and rematriculate for the same reason. JJ, another easy one for you. What do you want us to demonstrate through the portfolio submission?
Creativity. So a student identifies a particular opportunity to offer a service or a concept within their community that's of interest to them, and then they roll with that. So it's going from the concept, and we'd like to see people executing as well. So to be able to make some inroads into building out the product or the service, and then be able to step back and reflect and evaluate from my community of stakeholders, the end users and the people who are guiding and mentoring me. Have I reached my targets? What lessons have I learned in the design process? And if I was doing it again, what would I do that's different?
Brilliant. And I think, Tiziana already said this as well, but we often get questions of, do I need to show programming on its own? Like, is that really what you're looking for? Tiziana, could you comment on that as a part of the portfolio?
Yes, I can comment, and the point is that you should demonstrate, let's say, an understanding for tech, but it doesn't have to be programming, okay? It is also adoption and use of other technologies, for example, digital art, for example, in connection with languages, etc. We have on the website quite a selection, so to say, of potential topics that definitely qualify. For us, it is more, let's say, the predisposition to being happy in ISE that is important, rather than the technology. We can teach the technology, that's not a problem. We just would like the students to be people that are thriving in an environment like ISE. And this is completely independent of the technical abilities. There are some people that would be totally happy in LM121 or in LM174, which is the new Bachelor Master in Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning. Okay, they would prefer that kind of topics or that way of being taught. For us, it is, like a next flower in a bouquet, okay, that is giving you choice. The ISE is actually this intensive, integrated problem-solving part that is actually its DNA.
Brilliant, brilliant. So well put, Tiziana. Really, really clear. Another nice, easy one for you, JJ. How can I best support my students in putting a portfolio together? So you've got a brilliant student, they're really interested in doing ISE. How can the teachers, the guidance counselors, the principals watching this, how can they support their students in putting the portfolio together?
Again, thank you for the easy question. So putting myself into a teacher's role, first of all, to ensure that the student is engaged in something they have a passion for. The second is to seize there an opportunity here to create something that has some element of novelty, something new that hasn't been done before. It's a slightly different way of looking at things. Third is does the student have mentor support that will enable them to move from inception to construction, or into the design space, so that they can actually build a lightweight proof of concept prototype so that they've something to show and talk about. And the fourth thing, I think, is with respect to project management or time management, that students, they're overwhelmed to a certain degree with the pressures from the Leaving Certificate, and just to give them a look over the shoulder occasionally to see that they have a plan, they're on track, and they're going to hit their targets. And I think finally the most important thing from a teacher's perspective is those words of encouragement, particularly when they feel they might be hitting a wall, just to keep persevering and push on through, and that they will succeed.
I think that's the biggest thing for me, JJ, is the idea that we can, as educators, we can actually encourage people, and we can say, listen, you can do this. You mightn't think you can, but actually, you can. Keep at it. And I think that's why we put the text program together as well, to sort of, and there are prizes not just for the students but for the teachers as well, and for the schools, to make sure that they can actually we can recognize how well the support you are giving the students is working out for them. There is a good question about how are the points worked out. So here, obviously, the Leaving Cert works the same way all of your students do the Leaving Cert. But in terms of the points for the portfolio, JJ, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have a mechanism for evaluating the portfolio. So number one, it will be evaluated by a team of faculty members, and the rubric that we're using is creativity. That's number one. Number two, then we're looking for the independent work outside of, for example, students do some very nice work within Leaving Cert subjects, etc. But we want to see some added value on top of that, if that was the basis for the submission. And then the third element that will be used in our grading process is does the student reflective practice effectively. And then stage two, we will call our students for interviews, those that are ranked. We haven't decided yet exactly. It'll depend on the number of applicants, but the top ranked applicants will be called for interview, where we give them an opportunity to do a deeper dive into their submission.
Brilliant, JJ. Can I use the Leaving Cert work in my portfolio? You can, of course. Does the course help us, and this one for you, Tiziana, does the course help us in starting our own company if they've got an idea?
Much better than other offerings, and I say it so to say from experience. I started 3 companies and 2 are still existing, so it's a path that we know directly ourselves. And of course, I mean, as was already mentioned, we have partnerships with entities of various kind that are actually having this as a goal. The way ISE is going to be different in this dimension is that the education and the mentorships are going to be much more personal. So every student is going to have, let's say, more opportunities and more support, okay, for becoming the best self that he or she wants to become, okay, related with tech, of course, but not just this. For example, entrepreneurship, communications, the why of everything, the business aspects as well, they are going to be woven in various ways at various times, so to say, into the blocks. And so if the student or a group of students, alone or in partnerships with others, have an idea, there is going to be serious support, okay, in trying to make this happen and make this happen with success the first time.
Brilliant. Okay, so we have about 5 minutes left and we have about 25 questions. So we're going to go quicker and much quicker. Again, this has happened to us now in every single webinar where we've ended up just going yes, no to most questions. All right. Can we pick which companies, this is one for you, JJ, can we pick which companies we work on when we go on residency?
You can apply, but it's a competitive process. So partially, yes.
Yeah, we'll match you. It'll be a very interesting discussion. Tiziana, is there mobile app development?
Yes, even if you don't see it directly in the modules, we are going to work with a lot of technologies, with a lot of projects. It's virtually impossible for you not to meet mobile application development.
Grand. JJ, where is text based? Is it online?
It's online.
Another one for you, JJ. Is tech good for using for a portfolio, or is it different?
It could be the beginning of a portfolio, but they're just to stress that there are many other organizations, I'm not going to name them here, that would be a good basis as well for developing the portfolio, as well as doing it within your school under the mentor or guidance of a teacher who's an interest in that.
Nice. Tiziana, is it all coding, or do we get to meet customers? Do we do team projects?
Okay, so easy first, team projects, big teams, small teams, medium teams, teams with companies, teams with other stakeholders. You're going to meet teams a lot, okay? And in terms of coding, coding is a little part of the software development process. You're going to meet everything from the requirements, from the why, from the business, the communication, the marketing, and everything else.
JJ, I love design. Can I use this in software design or development?
Software design, I think the name on the 10 says a lot. So I lecture modules such as software architecture, and it's all about design principles that would be common across many different disciplines.
Yeah, everything from architecture to product design, even marketing, it's all about design thinking. So yeah, absolutely. Tiziana, will the students be on their own in these companies, or will they be supported? Are there mentors? What's happening there?
So first of all, every company is going to have at least 2 students, so you're not going to be on your own, even among your peers. Second of all, we are already working now together with JJ and Ian and several others in the teams to basically agree already with the company who are going to be the mentors in the companies, different, many of them, so to say, and who are going to be then the mechanism, how the mechanisms are going to be for the weekly exchange with the team in ISE. So you're never going to be alone.
Never walk alone. JJ, what Leaving Cert students are good for the course or the portfolio?
Any Leaving Cert subject that prompts you to step back, analyze, evaluate, reflect, and think more deeply about the world we live in. So maths, economics, any of the sciences, but I'd also say the languages, English, for example. So anything to add to that, Stephen?
No, that's perfect. I mean, anything that gets you into structured thinking. JJ said the first criteria here is creativity. So anything that unleashes that in you is what's good, is what we are going to be looking for.
Can I just add,
please?
If computer science is available as part of the syllabus in your school, then people should have a serious think about that. Yeah,
good one. Can a student who's just gone into first year of college reapply to get into the course and use their college work in the portfolio? The answer is yes, they can, but again, they have to go through the CAO process, be matriculated, and use the portfolio in that way, and we will assess them in that exact fashion. So I don't think we've got much time for many more questions, folks. So what I will do now is just to thank you. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'd like to thank Ian. I'd like to thank Keith. I'd like to thank, obviously, JJ and Tiziana for doing this. These webinars take a lot of effort to put together, and it's always good to get some time to speak with you all. If you've got any questions that you don't feel like we've answered, or if you have something that you'd like to have us speak to, please just send us an email, ise@ul.ie or tiziana.margaria@ul.ie, or just send us an email on the through the site. And thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you all again at the portfolio webinar in early December. So thank you very much for your time and attention. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.